You waste too much time with books, she scoffed one morning. A girl doesn't need school, she needs to learn how to take care of a household. You're a girl, she told her. What use is education to you? Stay home and help me instead. Welcome to The Hidden Voice, a Sierra Leone folktales channel. In a quiet village of Bumbuna, where the rolling hills kissed the sky and the river whispered old tales, lived a woman named Zainab. She was the heart of her home, the light in her husband's eyes, and the greatest love Mariatu would ever know. Zainab was known for her kindness, the way she cared for the sick, and how she would sing lullabies that floated through the night like a gentle breeze. But above all, she was a devoted mother to her only daughter, Mariatu. From the moment Mariatu was born, Zainab cherished her like a precious gem. She would cradle her in her arms, humming soft melodies and whispering prayers over her tiny head. "You will be strong, my daughter," she would say. "You will shine brighter than the morning sun." Her husband Ibrahim loved Zainab deeply. She was not just his wife, she was his soul, his best friend, and the mother of his only child. He had married her not because of tradition, but because he could not imagine life without her. He would often tell her, "Even after death, I will love you, Zainab. And if anything ever happens, I swear to protect our only daughter with my life." Zainab would smile, brushing her fingers across his cheek. "I know you will," she would whisper. Their love was the kind that made others believe in "till death do us part." Even the village elders admired their bond, saying it was rare to find such devotion. Together, they raised Mariatu with warmth and joy. Zainab ensured that her daughter's mind was filled with stories, knowledge, and dreams, while Ibrahim worked hard in the diamond fields to provide for them. Then, tragedy struck like a thief in the night. One morning, Zainab went to the river to fetch water, as she had done countless times before. The villagers later found her lifeless body caught between the rocks, her bright wrapper tangled in the currents. It was as if the river had swallowed her whole, leaving nothing behind but sorrow. The news shattered Ibrahim. He refused to believe it at first, standing at the riverbank for hours, day by day, waiting for her to return, as if it had all been a mistake. But Zainab was gone, and with her, the warmth in his heart. Mariatu, only 8 years old by then, could not understand why her mother was not coming home. She cried herself to sleep, clutching the cloth her mother had worn the night before. Ibrahim held his only daughter close, his tears soaking into her hair. "I made your mother a promise, my child," he whispered. "I will love you till death. No harm will come to you, I swear it." But grief changes people. At first, Ibrahim tried to keep his promise. He woke Mariatu for school, combed her hair clumsily, and tried to sing the lullabies Zainab once sang. But he was lost without his wife. The house felt empty. The laughter had disappeared, and everywhere he looked, he saw her absence. His loneliness became unbearable, and when the elders suggested he remarry, he agreed, thinking that a new wife would fill the void Zainab had left. That was how Haja came into their lives. A former best friend of Zainab and Haja had been the closest of friends since childhood. They had grown up together, shared secrets beneath the old mango tree, and supported each other through every stage of life. Their bond was one that many envied, a friendship built on trust, laughter, and years of shared experiences. When Zainab married Ibrahim, Haja stood proudly by her side as her bridesmaid, rejoicing in her best friend's happiness. She admired the love between Zainab and Ibrahim, a love that seemed unbreakable. And when Mariatu was born, Haja was more than a friend. She was like an aunt to the child, doting on her as if she were her own. Zainab's sudden death left a void that neither time nor words could fill. Ibrahim was shattered, drowning in grief, while little Mariatu, too young to fully understand the depth of her loss, clung to the last memories of her mother. The once lively home turned into a place of sorrow, its warmth replaced by silence. Amid the darkness of loss, Haja stepped forward. She could not bear to see her best friend's family suffer. Driven by love and loyalty, she took it upon herself to care for them, offering the support they so desperately needed. At first, she came to their house every day, bringing home-cooked meals to ensure that Ibrahim and Mariatu ate well. She prepared Zainab's favorite dishes, hoping they would bring a sense of comfort. She cleaned the house, refusing to let it fall into neglect. But more than that, she became a source of emotional support, especially for Mariatu. She would hold the child in her arms at night when she cried for her mother, whispering words of comfort, and telling her stories just as Zainab used to. She braided Mariatu's hair in the mornings before school, ensuring she looked presentable, just as her mother would have wanted. For Ibrahim, she became a pillar of strength. She encouraged him to eat when he refused, reminding him that Mariatu, his daughter, needed him. She listened to his grief, never rushing him to move on, but reminding him gently that life had to continue. When the villagers spoke of Zainab with sadness, Haja was the one who reassured them that her memory would always be honored. As time passed, the village elders began to take notice of Haja's unwavering dedication. They whispered among themselves, saying, "She has become a mother to Mariatu, a wife in all but name to Ibrahim." They believed it was only natural for Haja to step into the role permanently. The elders approached Ibrahim, urging him to consider remarrying, and who better than the woman who had already proven her devotion? At first, Ibrahim resisted. He had loved Zainab deeply, and the thought of marrying again felt like a betrayal. But when he looked at Mariatu and saw how attached she had become to Haja, he reconsidered. Mariatu, still a child, found comfort in Haja's presence. She no longer woke up crying as often. She laughed again, even if only in small moments. And Ibrahim, too, began to appreciate the companionship Haja provided. Slowly, the idea of remarriage no longer felt impossible. At first, he resisted. He had promised Zainab that he would always love Mariatu, that he would never let harm come to her. But the loneliness was suffocating, and Haja was there, comforting, patient, and understanding. Eventually, he agreed. Haja became his wife, stepping into the place Zainab had once held. For a while, things remained the same. Haja continued caring for Mariatu, making sure she had food, clothes, and a place to sleep. But something began to shift. The love that once guided Haja's actions was now replaced by something darker, a growing resentment. She had done everything for this family, yet she was still seen as Zainab's replacement, never truly accepted as Ibrahim's first love. The village still spoke of Zainab with reverence, as if she had never left. Even Ibrahim, though married to her, never looked at Haja the way he had looked at Zainab. It festered inside her, turning her warmth into coldness. She began to withdraw her affection from Mariatu, subtly at first. She would sigh in irritation when the child called her mom, no longer braiding her hair with care. Then the chores began. Mariatu was expected to do more, sweeping, cooking, and fetching water. Mariatu pleaded with her father, but Ibrahim, drowning in his own sorrow and trusting Haja's judgment, did not intervene. He believed she was doing what was best. At first, the punishments were subtle. If Mariatu spilled water while fetching it, Haja would slap her hand. If she forgot to sweep a corner of the house, she would receive a sharp tug on her ear. But as Mariatu grew older and more resilient, Haja's punishments became harsher. One evening, after Mariatu returned home late from school, Haja accused her of being disobedient. Without warning, she grabbed a cane and struck the girl across her back. Mariatu bit her lip to keep from crying out, knowing that showing weakness would only encourage more cruelty. The beatings became a regular occurrence. Any small mistake, a dish left unwashed, a piece of firewood misplaced, was met with harsh discipline. She was often made to kneel on the rough ground for hours, her hands raised above her head, until her muscles ached. Despite the visible bruises and Mariatu's growing fear, Ibrahim remained unaware of the full extent of his daughter's suffering. Haja had mastered the art of deception. She would console him at night, assuring him that Mariatu was simply stubborn and needed strict discipline. "She's growing up, Ibrahim," Haja would say, feigning concern. "If I don't teach her now, she will bring shame to this family." And Ibrahim, weary from work and still lost in the grief of losing Zainab, believed her. He saw Mariatu's sadness, but convinced himself that it was simply the absence of her mother, not the cruelty of the woman he had married. Mariatu, too, remained silent. She longed to tell her father the truth, but each time she opened her mouth, she saw the trust he placed in Haja. If he did not believe her, what then? Where would she go? Despite the mistreatment at home, Mariatu found solace in her education. School became her refuge, a place where she was not just a burden, but a bright, promising student. Her teachers admired her intelligence, and her classmates respected her determination. But Haja, seeing how much Mariatu loved school, sought to take it away from her. "You waste too much time with books," she scoffed one morning. "A girl doesn't need school. She needs to learn how to take care of a household." "You're a girl," she told her. "What use is education to you?" "Stay home and help me instead," Mariatu protested, pleading with her father, but once again, Haja manipulated the situation. "She is becoming too proud, Ibrahim. She talks back, she disobeys me. If you allow this, she will grow into a disrespectful woman." For a moment, Ibrahim hesitated. He had always wanted Mariatu to be educated, just as Zainab had wished. But Haja's words chipped away at his resolve, and reluctantly he agreed to keep Mariatu at home. Mariatu's heart shattered. But she was her mother's daughter, and she refused to give up. Determined to continue her studies, Mariatu found a way. She borrowed books from friends, studying at night under the dim light of a candle. She memorized lessons from her classmates, whispering equations and history facts to herself while doing house chores. Her teachers noticed her absence and, suspecting the truth, intervened. Madame Kome, one of her strongest supporters, visited Ibrahim and pleaded with him to let Mariatu return to school. Zainab wanted more for her daughter, she reminded him. She was one of the brightest students in her class, and now Mariatu is following in her footsteps. Do not let her dreams die. Her words struck something deep within Ibrahim. For the first time, he truly looked at his daughter. The exhaustion in her eyes, the bruises on her arms, the way she avoided looking at Haja when she spoke. Doubt crept into his heart. Had he been blind all this time? That night, Ibrahim confronted Mariatu. At first, she hesitated, afraid that speaking the truth would make things worse. But when she saw the genuine concern in her father's eyes, she finally broke down. Through tears, she told him everything, the beatings, the punishments, the way Haja had tried to strip her of her education. She showed him the bruises, the scars hidden beneath her clothes. Ibrahim's heart shattered. He had failed his daughter. He had promised Zainab he would protect Mariatu, and yet he had allowed her to suffer under his own roof. The next morning, Ibrahim made a decision. He sent Mariatu back to school and warned Haja that if she ever laid a hand on his daughter again, there would be consequences. Though he did not leave her immediately, his trust in her was broken. Mariatu, now free to pursue her education, worked harder than ever. She excelled in her studies, proving to herself and to the world that she would rise above the pain. Years later, she graduated with honors and became a lawyer just like she had dreamed. Now a public speaker, standing in front of her students, she vowed that no child under her care would suffer as she had. She had endured, she had survived, and she had won. And somewhere in the wind, she heard her mother's voice whisper, "You did it, my child. You did it. You did." Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more amazing Sierra Leonean folktales, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep these stories alive and brings our rich culture to the world. Until next time, stay inspired and keep the stories flowing.